fidget toy works, you'll lay it flat and you can just pull from the center and it just goes on forever. So that's how it works. Some people shake them, some people like bounce them like a hacky sack. It's up to you, it's your fidget toy. I do a bunch of fun colors, but yeah, that's how you make your fidget toy, or that's how your fidget toy is gonna work. So for this project, you're gonna need a 5mm crochet hook. It should say on there, on the little flat part, 5mm. A darning needle. This is just one I had at my house. They make plastic ones, they make metal ones, they make ones like with the little bend on it. I like these, up to you. And for your yarn, you'll need size 3 or 4 yarn. I like using Karen cotton cakes. It's a nice blend of cotton and acrylic, so it doesn't make your hands hot, but it also doesn't shed like a cotton would. Today we're gonna be using acrylic yarn, and this is a size 4. It's like this thick. Should be good. And then some scissors to cut off your yarn.
Yay.
So to start your like stitches and everything, you're gonna make a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you're gonna hold your yarn like this across your palm. You're gonna take the yarn and wrap it around your 2 fingers and make an X. So once you have your X, you're gonna take your thumb and push this through. So you see it right there. And pull on that until you have a slip knot. You'll know it works is if, the way you'll know it works is if you take your yarn that is attached to the ball, you pull it, and it'll tighten. Okay, so now that you have your slip knot, you're gonna take your hook, put it on your hook like that, and then pull it tight to your hook. All right, so I hold this steady, it's called the tail. I hold the tail steady when I'm doing my chain stitches, which is the first stitch that we'll be learning. To chain, you're gonna take, this is called your working yarn. You're gonna take your working yarn that's attached to the ball, put it over your hook like that. And then you're gonna take your tail in your other hand, keep your hook steady with your dominant hand, and pull until it hooks onto that working yarn and pull through that loop. And so that is your first chain stitch. For this pattern, we're gonna do 15 of those. So that's 1. I'm gonna try and slow it down. I'm gonna go over, pull, that's 2, over, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So now you can see your chain stitches. For this pattern, we're gonna look at what the anatomy of your chain stitch is. So this would be considered the front of your chain stitches. You see how they make kind of V's? And so that's the front, and then the back is these little bumps. So when I am counting to make sure that I have the right amount of chain stitches, I don't like doing the V's because I lose count really easily. What I like to do is I take my thumbnail and I drag it along the back, and so every time I feel a bump like that, I count 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I know I have the right count. So now we're gonna learn how to do a slip stitch. We're gonna go into that very last bump on the back. We're gonna take our hook and put that little bump, put the hook through, so just that little bump is on our hook. And then we're gonna yarn over, just like we did with our chain, and pull through that bump. And to finish off our slip stitch, we're gonna take this first yarn loop and pull through that first chain. And so now we have a loop, and that's gonna be the basis of our fidget toy. So now we're gonna chain 2. We already know how to chain. Same thing, just it's not our foundation chain. We're building up the height for our rows. So you're gonna yarn over, pull through, and pull through. So now you have 2 chains. And we're gonna rotate our hook towards our non-dominant hand. So now your tail should be on the same side as, it should be over here. It should be by your dominant hand.
Okay.
So now we're looking at the fronts of our chains, right? We're looking at those V's. And so we're gonna count this slip stitch as your first stitch. Typically in crochet patterns you don't, but for this, we just want a continuous ruffle. So it doesn't really matter. This pattern's very forgiving if you miss a stitch or anything. That's why it's so good for beginners. So now we're gonna yarn over and we're gonna insert here into these first 2, or into the first V. So now you see how it's different from when we put into the like bump back part of it. There's 2 on here, but that's still 1 stitch. So we're gonna yarn over and pull through the V. Now we're set up to do our first double crochet. So we're gonna yarn over and pull through just these first 2 loops. Like that. And to finish it off, we're gonna go yarn over and pull through the next 2. And so that's your first double crochet. It's called a double crochet because it's just like 2 crochet stitches stacked on top of each other. And so now we're gonna do a second double crochet into that same slip stitch. This is what is called an increase. So we're gonna yarn over, insert into that first stitch, same place as this other one. So it should look like your hook is right under that first double crochet. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. And so now you see that there's a hole there where your 2 crochets are. So we're gonna do that all the way around. 2 in every single V. So this is our next V. Sometimes you might need to use your nail to pull through, and that's okay. So these last stitches can be a little tricky to get into because as you work into the stitches beforehand, you're tightening the stitches further. But again, just use your nail, just get it done. So now this is our last V right here. Go into that one. As per usual, do our 2. And then, so now you see you have a circle. But to make that infinity loop, what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip right here and start working into the back bumps. And so what I do to reduce the number of ends I have to weave in is I keep the tail flat against the stitches I'm working. And so I'll yarn over and do my 2 double crochets into the stitch. And you see how that tail is kind of tucked in there? And I'm just gonna keep on trucking on into the back bumps. And then we're gonna go, try not to cover the stitches for y'all, but you see the bump there. Again, keeping that tail tucked flush to the work. This one's going to be a little bit bigger than usual, but it's okay. And just keep on crocheting. And if your yarn splits like this, don't freak out. Just make sure it's all together in one strand. You can leave it like that. I don't like how it looks. I'm a bit of a perfectionist with my crocheting, but no one's gonna know. No one understands the mistakes in your work except for you. So don't be too hard on yourself. Okay. Now that I've crocheted a bunch of ones with the tail tucked in, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it so I don't have to look at it. And then we just keep working in the back bumps. Okay, this is our last bump. You see it right there. Your last bump's gonna be kind of big, and that's okay. La, 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 la. Okay, and so now you see our work. It's not gonna lay completely flat, which is what we want. We want that twist in there because that's what's gonna create the loop. So to start our next row, we're gonna go into this first double crochet. And you see it looks like the front of our chain stitches, like that V. And so we're gonna go into that stitch, yarn over, and we're gonna slip stitch, just like we did before. So we have that hook, or sorry, that loop on your hook. We're gonna pull through that second loop. And we're gonna chain 2 to create the height for our double crochets. And then we're gonna double crochet 2 in every stitch around. So just like we did with the chain stitches, we're gonna like just keep putting 2 double crochets in each of the V's. Okay, so this is our last double crochet for this round. And we're gonna do that. And then we're also gonna work into that slip stitch, just so, because if we joined here, then there would be like a little gap there. And so we're gonna work into this slip stitch too, just to make sure that there's some continuity. And you can't really tell where the joins are. Okay, like you see this row below, there's kind of a gap there. Here, there's not going to be as big of a gap. This one you're not going to notice because it's going to be inside the fidget toy, but okay. And so we're going to do the same thing we did last round and slip stitch into that first double crochet. And we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do that again.
Yay.
2 double crochets in each. Okay.
Final round.
Oh. You see what I did there? I only put 1 on each. So I'm going to go back and fix it.
Okay.
But you don't have to, if you notice that. You might not notice. I figured, I felt like something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I looked back. So
Yep.
you gain that instinct with time. Even when I was making this blanket I was making at home, I would be like, something's not right here. And then, you know, counting and problem solving. Yeah. It's an old legend that you have to put a mistake in your project so when you pass away, your soul can escape from it.
What?
Yeah, that's like an old wives' tale.
We should lead with that at the event.
Yeah. Yeah. Because my mom, she cross stitches. And she'll be like, I made only 1 mistake in this cross stitch. And I'm like, well, now your soul can escape. So that's good. And she'd be like, can you see it? And I'm like, no, I can't see it. Like, I don't even know how you see it. And then it's vice versa when I make a mistake. Only you see your mistakes. Okay, and again, we're going to work in that slip stitch. It's important. Okay. And then we're going to work in the top here of our first double crochet and slip stitch there. Now we're only going to chain 1 because we're doing a different stitch for the rest of it, okay? So to half double crochet, I know it sounds complicated, but it's not. You're going to do the same beginning part as your double crochet. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch, pull up a loop. So now you have 3, like you did with your double crochet. Yarn over, and instead of pulling through 2, we're going to just pull through all of them. Boom. So you see how you can see those 3 loops. That's what a half double crochet is.
Okay.
And so then we're just going to put 1 of those in each of the stitches. So yarn over, insert, pull through a loop, and then boom. And then we're just going to keep doing that.
Okay.
All around. when it's like fully formed or mostly formed, I like holding it like this with my 2 fingers here, and then I hold my project here.
Okay.
And then I hold my yarn with these fingers.
Okay.
And so I'm like pinching my project, and I'm moving this hand to like yarn over and stuff.
Yes.
So that's our last double crochet, and then we're going to go into that last slip stitch, do a half double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into here, and then we're going to cut our yarn. Okay. And you just pull through. Now you have a little tail. And so everyone does joining a little bit differently. I like to do an invisible join with this, so I'm going to try and demonstrate that. So this is the first stitch we went into for the slip stitch, right? So we're going to go into that next one.
Okay.
And insert front to back like that. You're going to take your tail and put it, thread your needle like that. Pull through here like that, and pull that tight, and then we're gonna go in between the parts of the V, like that. Make sure we're not gonna lose our thread. And so now you can see it kind of blends in. And now we're gonna weave in this tail. And so to weave in, you just go, you see these kind of V's here. It's a little difficult to see, but they're there. You're gonna go into those like that, and then just, I do 3 or 4. Okay. And so it's still threaded. You're just gonna push through and pull like that.
Boom.
And so now you can't see where you joined, and you can cut it off there. I like to then go down into these 2 little loops here, and then I cut it just to make sure it's a little more secure. But again, everybody does this a little differently. It's up to you. Nice. And then you cut that tail. And I like to then go through, kind of smooth out all my stitches, make sure it works, even though I know it works, but you know, excuse to use what I made. And yeah, once all the stitches are like smooth enough and everything, then I'll officially call it. This one's gonna be a little big. If you use smaller yarn, then it's gonna be a little bit smaller. But
Yeah.
since we used bigger yarn, it's gonna be bigger.